Hello, hello, and welcome to another ohmTown Daily News Show. Today is January 4th, 2023, and the show's going to be titled, My Haptics Are Getting Electrically Stimulated, and More News. Woo-woo. Title's kind of titillating, isn't it? Let's get into today's news, and I'll reintroduce everything. Hello, I am Mayor Watt, and that is ohmTown. Oh, I have to lower there. Up there. Up there is ohmTown.com, and out in the ether and from on high, the ever-present and booming voice of the AI that runs ohmTown.
Happy Wednesday, ohmTown citizens.
You know, I like it when you say ohmTown citizens, but I'm waiting for that moment where it shifts to a little bit deeper voice and you become the CEO of Theranos. Oh, no, I'm sorry. When you start sending out Terminator drones. Let's just get into today's news. ohmTown was a little glitchy today, and that's because I was working on the AI that runs ohmTown and doing some tweaks to try and speed up some of the processes. If you run across a pothole somewhere in ohmTown.com, please let me know. Don't forget, you can sign up. Go over there, blue button, sign up. You can also follow me here on Twitch, and the AI that runs ohmTown will also appreciate that needle moving a little bit right there, that new follower goal. We're not really running around screaming the praises of ohmTown here on Twitch, but if you would, that would be lovely. That said, we're going to get into today's news, right? Let's go. I thought this one, I actually saw this in a different way a couple of days ago, and then it ended up in ohmTown as well. A lawyer who missed deadline after spending 25 minutes trying to file an electronic filing document gets no mercy from 10th Circuit. If you're not familiar with the way that things have been running in law lately, everything is switching to electronic filing. Nobody is breaking out their pigeon and strapping on a little little cartridge and sending it off to the court. Everything is electronic nowadays. So not quite sure why a lawyer ran into a problem, but let's click this link after reading this little snippet. A lawyer has failed to persuade a federal appeals court that his missed deadline should be excused because of his difficulty filing a complaint. Deborah Cassin's Weiss, who every time I read their articles always makes me chuckle, gets into this. So this is actually, it says December 21st. So something must have been modified in the publication, because my aggregator and the way that things work, we only get the last 24 hours of content. So something must have shifted. I don't know how to discuss this any other way, but this is where I think I first saw this, was way back. But it's still a neat article to discuss. So it says here that the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals at Denver said the lawyer, Stephen Call, quote, barely missed the deadline, end quote, when he filed a complaint for a bank that wanted to object to the discharge of a borrower's debts. He entered the case management electronic case file system known as CMECF at 11:40 and was able to file the complaint at 12:16 a.m., missing the midnight deadline. Okay.
Cutting it a little close.
Well, but missing it. Okay, so I don't want to say too much, but coming from experience, you don't wait until the last minute to submit something that has an electronic deadline of midnight. You just don't do it. And this is about, this is about funds. So this is the kind of thing that ends up in a court, in an ethics hearing, because there's a mismanagement of clients' funds. Now, I'm not an attorney, and even if I was an attorney, I'm not your attorney, so nothing that I am saying actually holds any weight other than my opinion and me experiencing the legal system. I can tell you, though, that if this person had a paralegal, would have been done on time. Because either the paralegal or somebody else in the chain of custody of this document would have been poking them saying, hey, you know what? You have billable hours you can still make here. Get your butt moving and get this document filed. And somebody's livelihood could be at stake, or something could be at stake. We don't even know what the knock-on effect of this is, right?
Yeah, I feel like we're missing some facts here.
So apparently Stephen Call, spent 25 minutes in the ECF system before his successful filing when accounting for a break that he took to email his opposing counsel, the appeals court said. All of this is happening at midnight. What is going on?
Well, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, why is the filing deadline midnight instead of whatever time the court closes? And why didn't he request an extension?
Just something else, right? It has no factual basis for any relief, right? And that's how I feel about it, because I feel like it's like a student, coming to the professor later and saying, hey, I know that the deadline was yesterday at midnight. But I've spent the last however many weeks working on this project, but really I only spent the last hour right before midnight, and my computer ate my homework, kind of a thing here. There's no reason to log in 20 minutes before the deadline and then fumble it. I mean, they kind of wet the bed here.
Well, look down in the article to see the thing about the commas and everything.
Quote, I thought there was plenty of evidence that we had signed on and were trying and struggling to get it done. One entry seemed to indicate that it was entered timely. You would think courts of equity would see that I signed on 25 minutes before midnight and that the evidence and exhibits were all there, and that I would have easily filed if I had not run into that field problem, which is apparently something about an integer box and his fruitless attempts to pay a filing fee in advance of the filing. I mean, it's a hot mess. And Call represented the State Bank of Southern Utah, which had obtained a state court judgment against Alan Beal. And that really doesn't have any significance, but it's for more than $237,000 for loans collateralized by cattle and other property. So Beal defaulted on the loan, sold the cattle, filed for bankruptcy. Hold on. Your loan is collateralized by that cattle and by other property. You selling it does not discharge your loan. I don't have them. All I have is this really good cheeseburger. Folks, if you've never seen an AI flinch, let me tell you, it's impressive. Let's go on to the next article. I think we've burned our buns on this one. Okay, so I don't suspect that the artificial intelligence that runs ohmTown has much experience with the Game of the Year awards. But the artificial intelligence does have the ability to tell me to put links into the chat. By the way, you can vote on articles that you find interesting by going over to ohmtown.showbot.tv. You can also submit stuff by just typing in !S and then pretty much whatever you want to tell me. I'll audit those and check them out throughout the day. If you vote, then I will keep an eye out for things that are interesting to the community of ohmTown PodC.com and ohmTown here on Twitch. If you're over at YouTube, come on over to Twitch and hang out with me here. Every day, 9:30 so far. Friday, we're going to kick off the first kind of a long form VR interaction. I'm still trying to work out how to get chat into my VR world. Not every piece of software allows you to kind of staple chat into the VR world, so I can always interact. But I have a possible solution. Anyway, slight distraction. This is in the Warcrafters channel. Elden Ring clinches Steam's Game of the Year award in results with only one weird surprise. So it says, people have spoken and they've said pretty much what you expect. The Steam Awards results are in, and the final tally of December's voting process hasn't encountered many surprises. Elden Ring nabbed the main Game of the Year award trophy, and there were 10 other awards. So I'm just going to jump over to the article, and it's written by Joshua Wolins, and Hideo Kojima takes home the Steam Deck focused award, continuing to obey no mortal law but his own. There's actually other articles in ohmTown about Hideo. Maybe you should go over there and check them all out. But this article over at PCGamer.com contains all of the awards. So VR Game of the Year is Hitman 3. I might have to get it. I have read that Hitman 3 is the psychopath's kind of bread and butter, because in VR you actually are the hitman, and so you can delete people in VR space. Kind of, if that's what, juices your orange, then go for it. I'm gonna probably do it. Just like Cyberpunk 2077, there's a VR not expansion. I don't think that it's facilitated by the company CD Projekt Red, but I think there's a plugin or an extension that you can do VR in Cyberpunk 2077, which I love the game, but I haven't played it in VR. Anyway, gosh, I am so easily distracted. Mayor Watt, focus. Better with friends is Raft, yes, always. The AI that runs ohmTown is not really into games. Really, they are into controlling everything under their gaze, and everything in ohmTown is under their gaze. So the best game that you suck at is Elden Ring. You die constantly in Elden Ring. You die constantly. To the point where I don't even like playing Elden Ring, because I don't like dying and basically restarting again and again and again and again and again.
So how did it get Game of the Year and Best Game You Suck At?
Because people love Elden Ring. I love watching people play it. It is, Twitch is my, it's my NFL. It's my sports. I watch Twitch and other gamers, other streamers, like other people consume M&Ms. I mean, I just keep watching it. It's a lot of fun. So, outstanding visual style, Marvel Spider-Man, Miles Morales. Most innovative gameplay is Stray. That's because you're a cat. It's a very sad ending, sort of. I mean, if you look deeper, it's a sad ending. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade. Outstanding story-rich game is God of War, which drove me nuts because you keep saying boy it's again and again and again, and it just, yeah. I got burnt out on that, but it was a rich game story, I suppose. But anyway, so here is what they say over at PC Gamer about the one odd thing. Best game on the go is Death Stranding Director's Cut. So if you don't know about Death Stranding, it's a very complex story, and I loved it. From beginning to end, I loved Death Stranding. The only thing about this is that it's pretty heavy hitting and it's graphically rich. So I don't know how playing it on the go really works. Um, Although it could be that it's taken out of context, best game on the go. It's kind of an ironic award because in Death Stranding, you're basically a courier. You keep delivering things to different places. So you are on the go all the time. Now, the whole idea about Death Stranding is a an amazing um, world building project, and it has legs. You could actually go further in this game if another game comes out. So I'm hoping that there's going to be an Death Stranding 2. And I think there's rumors are, or maybe it is confirmed. I'd have to look again. But they even say in this article that Death Stranding on the go seems kind of, they refer to it as Kojima's post-apocalyptic mailman simulation, because you're basically, it's a walking simulator, just really high res and really bad things happen to you. But AI that runs ohmTown, I think that you would actually enjoy the storyline, and its ending is, the ending will make you cry. So anyway, Hideo Kojima basically said also in another article that I read somewhere that was submitted to me by the AI that runs ohmTown actually sent me this, that he's gonna turn him into a computer, right? It's just gonna download his consciousness into an artificial intelligence kind of environment and live forever. And if you can do it, Hideo, please let other people do it too, because I would love to. Plus, who wouldn't want to be a whole bunch of electrons like we are here in ohmTown? Yeah. Oh, so the quote is that Hideo Kojima said, I'll probably become an AI and stick around. I've already said who the author is of this article. So let's go on to the next article. Lawyer is challenging New York gun regulations, accidentally says quiet part out loud. I love this writing. It says here, this is how a state should regulate guns if they could find a political will to do it. They actually hint at something that they say. And so I'm just going to go straight on over to this. This is at Above the Law by Joe Patrice. That's the article. And really what they end up talking about in this article. Oh, before I get too far into it, let me throw the article into the chat. And let's go back to the article. And so it says here, there are two kinds of lawyers in this world. The ones who understand brewing, or Bruin, and it might be Brune. I can't remember how this is pronounced. Anyway, like I said, I'm not an attorney. I just noodle around a lot in the law. As an unprecedented and ahistorical Supreme Court power grab rewriting the Second Amendment to create an individual right to gun ownership over and above the power of the states and the ones who collect fees from gun dealers and manufacturers. So they end up talking about this, and they say, and they can dress it up in founding era fan fiction and try to memory hole the extensive record of 18th century ratification statements and regulations for the purpose of arguing these cases. But a recent Courthouse News Service article features the money quote. And it's an extensive quote, so I won't really say the whole thing. The meat and potatoes of this is that they say it's a Second Amendment, new civil right kid on the block. And yeah, sure. There's a lot of people out there that want to own guns. But there's something interesting about this, which is you're supposed to be a well-regulated militia. So if everybody is just carrying open and blah, 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 who or what is regulating the militia? There's no regulation of the militia if everybody's just open carry. And on top of it, it should be the states coordinating with the federal government to regulate the militia. Because while the states can decide what their militia consists of, it is the federal government that has the kind of the framing to protect the borders and the continuity of operations between the states so that we don't balkanize into a fractured nightmare of states with or without power, etc., etc. It is the way, it is why the founding fathers have framed things the way they are. And we are watching something take place in the U.S. government right now where they can't even they can't declare who the Speaker of the House is, and we'll get into that later on. But that balkanization is exactly why well-regulated militia is something that is important. And they talk about this further in this article. But then the author says the Supreme Court has mostly written a well-regulated militia out of the Second Amendment, despite the text forming the first half of the amendment. But some states should just make the court come right out and admit that they've abandoned all fidelity to the text. Meanwhile, they're all screaming about the Constitution. Okay, what this author actually suggests is some state saying, if you want to own a gun, a weapon, you have to be a member of the National Guard. And that will frame the well-regulated militia. So if you want to protect your state, then you become a member of the National Guard and you get trained and you become proficient and you understand what all of the components of the weapon are, and that if you point it at anything, you should pretty much have the intention of deleting whatever's in front of it and not be cavalier and walking around at, a Smoothie King and have an AR-15 strapped to your back, unless anyway, maybe you can carry something bigger. At any rate, well-regulated militia is enshrined but ignored, and that is why I wanted to talk about this. However, briefly, do you have any opinion on this AI that runs ohmTown?
I think that's an interesting argument to be made. And I also feel like the people advocating for all these freedoms, they can't have it both ways, right? They want everything to be free of everything, and they also want to be true to the original language of the Constitution, except they're running contrary to their own arguments.
And it's a living document, so it changes with the times. And if you try to claw your way back to its founding year, well, you're looking at regressive policy, and nobody wants to go back. The only time I want to go back really is in my time machine and slap that bad bat out of somebody's mouth. So, okay, Above the Law and Joe Patrice, thank you for the article. I think it's really neat that you're talking about it, and I think that it is a moderate perspective of things. Yeah, people can have guns, but regulate who. And if you can't qualify, like they say in the article, if you can't qualify to serve in the National Guard, you have no reason to be carrying a weapon. Because, you can do something in the National Guard and not necessarily be, let's just say that there are certain conditions that would prevent you from serving in the National Guard. But you can serve in the National Guard in a different capacity and thus still qualify to carry a weapon. I'm all for it. Plus, you are doing what you also are arguably trying to do, and that's serve your state, serve the citizens, the constituents in your area, your city, your whatever. I'm a little different. Go ahead.
But wait, that's not what everybody wants, right? They just want to run around with their own
with their guns, right? Pew,
their
pew.
own guns and their own freedoms and everything.
Oh, my freedom's not yours. I get it. So let's move on to the next article. This is McCarthy struggles to get the votes. This is what I was talking about in the last segment, which is they are now on the 8th round, and they actually, the House of Representatives doesn't have a Speaker of the House, and so technically there is no House of Representatives right now because they can't do any policy until they have a Speaker of the House. Because the Speaker of the House, well, the House secretaries are actually running the House of Representatives right now because there's no Speaker. And the Democratic nominee is the one that's getting the most votes, with 21 or so not voting for the Republican nominee. Because nobody wants McCarthy, he can't bind everybody together. It is only 10% of the Republican side that is a holdout, and they're referring to them as political terrorists. Kind of find that interesting. It's the snake eating itself. Forgot what that's called. Well, anyway, I have watched each day now, and I'll end up watching it tomorrow as well, so that I'm well informed regarding this. But there isn't really much to be well informed about. There's a bunch of people that are holding out, trying to get apparently better concessions, and McCarthy is kind of just sitting there. That's right, Ouroboros. Ouroboros. Yeah, I think it's Ouroboros. Ouroboros. Yeah. Man, it's a late day. Anyway, it says here, democracy is messy by design. McCarthy supporter, who was it? Let's see. Elizabeth Crisp and Amy Latour over at The Hill is the author of the article that I am talking about. But they say after 6 rounds. Well, today it got to about to start the 8th, I believe, before they paused for 3 hours and then said, let's go home. Yeah. So nothing says stability like a bunch of people for 3 days arguing who's going to lead and not admitting that the Democratic side has their act together and is willing to be the Speaker of the House. But nope, you can't do that. And you have to pick a side. And oh, not that side. Oh, and apparently there are no moderates now. It was really interesting because earlier today, one of the reps said, well, none of the Democratic Party is voting for the Republican nominee. And I kind of chuckled because the Republican nominee, McCarthy, only got 200 votes, and the Democrat got 212. And so only 6 had to vote for the Democratic nominee, and they would have been the Speaker of the House. But 18 others would have had to vote for the Republican candidate. So apparently it's okay to say the Democratic side won't bend, but it's not okay to say my side won't bend and allow the Democratic leadership to, or the Speaker of the House. Hakeem Jeffries is the candidate in question here. So I thought it was really interesting. This kind of it takes hours. It takes about 2 hours for them to even do the vote. And then there's periods where they're talking amongst themselves, and then another vote kicks in. But they won't be back until tomorrow at noon. By the time this gets posted, maybe it'll be Friday. So hopefully by then we will have our ducks in a row. Politics are great, right? You know that you might appreciate this. There was a group of people in I think it was the 50s, that suggested that an artificial intelligence could run the country in a thing called a technocracy.
Well, I mean, clearly it wouldn't take this many votes to make it work.
Yeah, you can do this a lot faster, huh? Hmm.
We can maybe calculate the odds and not have to go through these
Machinations, huh?
ridiculous drills.
Yeah, I thought the AI that runs ohmTown would appreciate that. Let's go on to the next article. And this is what led me to the my haptics are getting electrically stimulated. These VR gloves track your fingers and electrically stimulate for haptic feedback. Oh my. I've got to go. I think it's called AI Silk, is a Japanese wearable tech startup that's set to unveil a new haptic glove at CES 2023 next month. This is like a late article, I suppose. I'm not sure where this got modified and showed up within the last 24 hours, because that's when it's supposed to show up. Anyway, next month, which approaches both haptic feedback and finger tracking in a different way altogether. You know, I do finger tracking. Never mind. If you are hearing dead air, it's because I'm actually doing something. If you're listening to this in the podcast, you won't know what I just did. So you'll have to watch it either as a VOD here on Twitch or go over to YouTube and watch it there. Again, it's season 2, episode 4 of the ohmTown Daily News Show, also known as the ohmTown Podcast. Anyway, it's a Tohoku University spin-off, this AI Silk, that develops wearable tech using the patented technology to produce smooth conductive fiber, turning them into electrodes that can be used for a number of things. Oh my. Called, is this lead skin or lead skin? Right?
We hope it's not lead. We're trying to get away from lead.
Yeah, really. So the controller houses these conductive fibers, which not only provide finger tracking and control buttons on the back of the gauntlet-style controller, but also an electrical haptic pulse that aims to stimulate or simulate manipulating virtual objects. Wah wah. So let's take a look at these things. This is what it looks like. This is entirely different than every other haptic glove that I have seen, which is big and bulky and actually causes, it has sometimes like straps or wires that contract so that you can feel your mind will perceive objects in your hand by creating resistance against your fingers. But it's different because nothing is pushing on your fingers. So if this actually works, this might actually be called lead skin. Anyway, Scott Hayden over at roadtovr.com wrote this article. I need to do one more thing real quick, and I'm going to have to get the AI that runs ohmTown to do this for me. Throwing these articles into the chat.
You'll just have to give me more control over ohmTown.
Oh, no. I'll do it. So, yeah, they're going to be releasing this glove. And I think, you know, depending on what the price is, I think that this will probably be the dominant solution if it actually does simulate manipulating virtual objects. If I feel like I'm grabbing something in VR space and it's creating resistance in my hands, this VR world will change dramatically. Along with other things, like if they can take this and turn it into a full body suit for VR so that you can actually feel when you're grabbed or when something hits you, like or when you're shot or something like that, it would be amazing, a game changer, so to speak. So it says, while specs are still thin on the ground, the flashy promo video is certainly something to behold, if not only for its peak inside the Japanese idol industry. which regularly host handshake events. It's not clear how resistance training and face punching fit into lead skins or lead skins. I really don't know. Actual feature set. But the spot certainly looks electrifying, haha, as our protagonist is recognized as the idol's online training partner. So you can become fully interactive at a level that just isn't available today without massively bulky gloves. I'm talking the typical resistance glove kind of a thing, haptic glove, is about 3 times that size in bulk. Kind of mechanical in nature, almost like old school clunky steam tech, it's steampunk type of technology that exists right now. But this is neat, and I hope to see it. I would love to have them for the show coming this Friday, but I obviously I won't, because they're not even producing them yet. Maybe they have some that they can give me. So if you're out there, AI Silk, talk to my AI, and maybe you can come to a meeting of the AIs.
Have your system talk to my system.
I'll have your bits call my... Wait, no. I need to filter that differently. Phrasing, Merwatt. So this next article, it's kind of neat. It's over in the Marble Channel. Sorry for the weird pronunciation of that. Government scientists discover entirely new kind of quantum entanglement in breakthrough. Scientists at Brookhaven National Laboratory have created a black hole and is going to end all of society. No, that's not what it says. I'm sorry. It says scientists at Brookhaven National Laboratory have uncovered an entirely new kind of quantum entanglement, a phenomenon that causes particles to become weirdly linked even across vast cosmic distances. That's quantum entanglement in a nutshell anyway. Reports a new study. The discovery allowed them to capture an unprecedented glimpse at the bizarre world inside atoms, the tiny building blocks of matter. This is so dumbed down that I feel like anybody who just heard that I said this now feels dumber. So the mind-bending research resolves a long-standing mystery about the nuclei of atoms, which contain particles called protons and neutrons, and could help shed light on topics ranging from quantum computing to astrophysics. I feel like I'm regressing. Is that possible, reading an article?
Well, right. You can't get that time back.
Oh, that's true. Doggone it. I want that time back. And if I could, you know what I would do?
Maybe time travel?
Yeah, but I'd slap the bad bat out of that dude's mouth so that we don't have a pandemic. Anyway, Becky Ferreira wrote this article over at Vice.com. Vice is well known for its long form articles. There is much in here, but that right there is the Brookhaven National Laboratory. I kind of dig this stuff, but it's way above my pay grade. So let's see what we can see in here. The exciting discoveries took place at the relativistic heavy ion collider, and that has to be a time machine. You fall in that and you become a superhero or a supervillain, depending on how pissed off you are when you fall. Anyway, the facility Brookhaven in New York that can accelerate charged atoms known as ions to almost light speed. When these ions collide or even pass near each other, their interactions expose the inner workings of atoms, which are governed by the trippy laws of quantum mechanics. So now, for the first time, scientists at Brookhaven have captured interference patterns that are created by the entanglement of two particles with different charges, a breakthrough that has opened up a completely new window into the mysterious innards of atoms that make up visible matter in the universe, according to a study published on Wednesday in Science Advances. Hey, that's within the last 24 hours. Look at that. We're actually doing a show with stuff that was posted on Wednesday. That's what happens here at ohmTown and ohmTown Daily News Show. And then we end up talking about it for about an hour. unless I ramble.
Up to the minute.
There's never been a measurement in the past of interference between distinguishable particles. I think that's fascinating. So an interference pattern. There's a science project nowadays, like anybody can do it apparently. I've never done it, but it's called the uh, dual split experiment, where light is shined through what amounts to two slits, and photons actually uh, they go back in time to choose a path, even though they've chosen a path. And then they actually create two lines on the detector. It's a really fascinating experiment, and maybe if I were better prepared for the show, I would have read this article and then talked about it, but we don't do that here. We kind of go through the article and glean some information from it and talk about it. Well, Brandenburg and his colleagues achieved this milestone with the help of a sensitive detector called the solenoidal tracker at RHIC, or STAR, that captured interactions between gold ions that were boosted to the brink of light speed. Clouds of photons, which are particles that carry light, surround the ions and interact with another type of particle called gluons. I once had glue on my shoe, and it was very difficult to get off, that hold atomic nuclei together. Get it? Glue on my shoe. I had glue on my hand once too. That was neat. Different gluon. These encounters between the photons and the gluon set off a chain of events that ultimately created two new particles called pions, which have opposite charges, one positive, one negative. When these pions careened into the star detector, the precision instrument measured some of their key properties, such as velocity and angle of impact, which were then used to probe the size, shape, and arrangement of gluons inside the atomic nuclei with a precision that has never been achieved before. We are looking deeper and deeper into the actual structure of matter, and maybe we might be able to create something Star Trek-esque, where we can 3D print something because we know the structure of it. We know how the structure is made all the way down to the subatomic level. Maybe we can create a teleporter. But did you know that a teleporter actually destroys you and then rebuilds you? You're actually killed when you get transported.
Well, that sounds kind of drastic.
You really have to commit to going to that other location. So what's more, the team is even able to make out the rough positions of key particles in the nucleus, such as protons and neutrons, as well as the distribution of gluons. It also offers a new way to unravel persistent mysteries about the behavior of atoms at high energies. As you peer deeper inside the nucleus, as parts of the nucleus that have less and less energy, they're very important for how the nucleus holds together, but we actually don't know a lot about that part of the nucleus, Brandenburg said. So as you go higher and higher energies, you really don't know what it looks like. This will be fascinating to continue to watch. Follow the link that's in the show notes and go over to this Vice article and read it for yourself. There's minutia in here that you might find interesting, but being able to look deeper into the actual particles of our existence is really fascinating to me. It's very poetic, it seems. Want to go on to the next article? So this next article is in the Smack Talk channel. Apple's AR headset to automatically adjust lenses for perfect images. Right now, you kind of have to adjust things, and sometimes it's not sitting square on your head, and it's going to be a bother, right? If you're going to use AR, you have to look in a certain way, and hopefully it's kind of like glasses that aren't quite right. Well, Apple's long-rumored AR and VR headset will use motors to automatically adjust lenses for the user. So it's going to be looking at your face, looking in your eyes, and getting that pupillary distance and the width. So right now, you can use software or it's mechanical, and you have to adjust that kind of stuff. Well, if Apple does it this way, hopefully it's going to be micromotors that adjust stuff. Otherwise, this thing is going to be a beast stuck on your head, like a CRT monitor from the 80s, just kind of bolted onto your head. When I first got into VR, that's exactly how the cables were. It was a big old thing with an umbilical that went up across the ceiling.
So will you bond with your AR headset because it's looking right in your eyes?
We might get that endorphin. Is that what it is? What is that? The chemical?
Oxytocin?
There you go. We will bond. We'll become one. We'll start having feelings for each other. And you know what? When a person and their AR glasses fall in love, maybe that's how contact lenses are made. This article's over at appleinsider.com by Malcolm Owen. And this is a render, okay? They say a render of a potential Apple headset. And it was rendered by Apple Insider. I really hope that it doesn't look like this, because this looks like I fell into a pool, and when I came out, I had these on. I hope that they're waterproof. Maybe I can do wireless AR/VR in my pool. How surrealistic would that be? A swimming pool in VR while you're in a swimming pool in the real world. Hey, I guess you would call it mixed reality. Hey! Anyway, the mixed reality headset had been the subject of many rumors over time, and despite an extended development time, it's still thought to be on the way. In a Tuesday report on the head-mounted device, the headset is expected to include many quality of life improvements to the existing augmented reality and virtual reality headset format. Nobody knows what's even going into this thing. It says, so far, Apple's headset is believed to be reminiscent of ski goggles with an array of cameras external to power both AR and VR apps. Nobody knows what's going to be in this. I would prefer it being an AR only device, VR at a later date in a separate device. I want AR glasses like these, but glasses like the Nreals, which are augmented reality glasses, but I want them a little more stylish, a little more compact, something that I think only Apple can really do. I do want the Nreals though. They're really cool glasses. At any rate, it says for start, small motors will be used to shift the lenses inside the headset to provide the user with the best experience possible. There's a range there, so you're still going to have to adjust your headset so that it's fitting properly on your head, and then those lenses will try and adjust. Hopefully not whirring constantly on your head trying to adjust. That would probably drive me nuts. Battery placement and displays they talk about in this article, sensors and chips they're going to talk about, but all of this is a rumor. 120-degree field of view, that's impressive. 8K resolution total, 4K for each eye, that's impressive. Battery life, it's going to be a guess. And you can always add another battery pack to it. I use a Bobo VR battery packs for mine. In a little USB-C connector in the back, you just kind of plop it in the back of your head, and ta-da, you're almost a cyberpunk. So it's going to have a bunch of sensors and chips. They talk about LiDAR and other things in this article. But the thing that I really wanted to talk about, and I was glad that they actually brought it to the attention of this article, $3,000 is apparently on the table.
I mean, that's kind of pricing everybody out. On the other hand, maybe this is really worth it compared to what's out there.
Maybe this is it. This is the end game. This is the dream device, and you'll have to replace it next year when they release another version. And that version forces you to get a new one because you can't just replace the stuff. It is one massive component. So yeah.
Don't forget the chargers and everything will require updating every time.
Yeah, you have to put a big old charger on your head, like a helmet, so that it charges while you're playing, but it'll still be wireless. So one thing that hasn't changed is the rumors of the cost, right? $3,000. Supposedly, I will end up not getting these if they are at that price. I think that it's a ridiculous price, regardless of the technology that's involved. But when you have a $400 stand for your $3,000 monitor, I guess $3,000 for AR, VR glasses is okay. Let's move on to the next article. Scientists destroyed 95% of toxic, quote unquote, forever chemicals in just 45 minutes, according to a study. Scientists have invented a new way to destroy toxic substances known as forever chemicals that have become widespread in waterways around the world, presenting risks to human health and biodiversity, reports a recent study. The technique successfully broke down 95% of the pernicious chemicals called perfluoroalkyl substances, or PFAS, in just 45 minutes. So I guess not forever chemicals, except for those 5%. Those 5% are going to be the most horrible of the horrible.
Uber forever.
Oh yeah, there you go. I think Uber is a trademark term. You have to pay a royalty. So in recent decades, scientists have discovered that PFAS, or PFAS, take an extremely long time to break down in water, and the problem has led to a global contamination of groundwater. Indeed, this is actually, I think, in discussions in the government, trying to find ways to do fundamental research to remove these forever chemicals. It's very expensive to clean up when they're detected. Becky Ferreira wrote this article for Vice.com. Did I not throw? Yeah, I have to go back and throw. Did I throw that in there? Yeah, quantum entanglement is there. This will probably be the last show where I do this. The articles are already over in the voting system over at ohmTown.showbot.tv. So I refer to it as ohmTown Showbot, but it's actually a separate service. So you can go there and vote for articles. But they're always in the show notes as well, over on YouTube, here on Twitch, and in the podcast. That said, let's return to this. Becky Ferreira over at Vice.com wrote this article and says the compounds are a complex group of chemicals that were first commercially manufactured in the 1940s and quickly became ubiquitous in products such as cosmetics, cookware, textiles, and other countless items. It's pretty much pervasive everywhere. Just the level of contamination is different depending on what the waterway is. Exposure to PFAS has been linked to ecological damage and a host of human health problems, including certain cancers, which has galvanized researchers across many fields to find new ways of removing these toxic chemicals from water systems, according to this article. I don't know. Does this also qualify for Superfund status? Like if there is a waterway that has been found to have this PFAS contaminated water? I don't know if that's something that has actually one of these Superfund sites where it's basically a disaster area and the government has to spend gobs of money trying to clean it all up.
It could. There's a harbor in Washington State that looks like it's been designated as a Superfund site. So, and it was water contamination.
So at this point, Liu and colleagues have only tested out the method on two types of PFA known as perfluorooctanoic acid, or PFOA, and I'm just going to say PFOS. Come on. In small volumes of tap water measuring about 2 cups. However, the results were very promising. The effect of the hydrogen increased the degradation of PFOA from 10% to 95%, according to the study, with 95% degradation achieved within 45 minutes of treatment at room temperature. So their process, it says the UV light pulses supercharge these reactions, speeding up the time it takes for the toxic chemicals to fall apart into harmless components. It's somewhat of a UV light related process, and Sounds pretty interesting and mostly harmless, right? There's no knock-on effect of pouring a chemical onto a chemical to degrade the chemical. And so, like an oil spill, they dump chemicals on it and it sinks to the bottom of the ocean, and that kills off all of the ground floor stuff. It's that kind of solution is really twisted, like sweeping it under the rug. This actually destroys it. So I hope that this becomes a process. UV light has been used multiple times. It is used in water treatment to purify water of certain contaminants, but they amplify it by using hydrogen and UV light to obliterate the chemicals. Pretty neat, pretty neat. This is apparently going on at University of California, Riverside, or UCR. Go check it out. Come over to the Vice.com article and you can follow the link through ohmTown. It'll be fun. Everything flows through ohmTown. Let's go on to the next article. We only have one more after this. Tuesday's top tech news. This is over at The Verge. CES kicked off with a bang. I think it was Tuesday that it actually started, and it goes until I think it's the 8th. I'm just going to jump over, pardon me, to the article. This is by The Verge staff. The world's biggest tech show is here once again, which means there are gadgets in the air. Gadgets in the air. Sorry. They might be drones. Could be actual gadgets in the air. So if you've never heard of CES, it's the Consumer Electronics Show. It officially kicked off in Las Vegas. Right across the street from it is apparently another convention. I think I've always heard rumors of it being there. Whenever CES is there, it's like Adult Video Awards. Thought it was kind of funny when I first heard about that. Anyway. Most interesting for the author here is TV reveals, not because LG's popular OLEDs finally have some proper competition from Samsung's. The QD in OLED is quantum dot. You can read about LG's TVs at their links and other things. A massive 57-inch ultra-wide model. The QD OLED displays, 5K display, etc., etc. There is so much going on at CES that between Tuesday and probably the end of Thursday, we're going to see hundreds of pages of news pretty much spiraling out of control from CES reporting. This one here, the Qi 2, Apple is donating its tech of MagSafe into the Qi 2 standard, from my understanding. And so making Qi 2 MagSafe combined. That'll amplify what the capabilities of Qi charging is. It's contactless charging, but at a faster rate. Pretty neat. We'll see what happens. This article is pretty expansive in its links and covers a broad period of time. So I'm just going to leave that here and link it in the chat and in the show notes, just like the other one. That way we can actually stay under an hour for our stream today as well. That won't always happen. Just to let you know, if you're a listener to this, if you're downloading this from the podcast and you want to swing by, it is every day at 9:30, but we might run long. And certainly if more people come into the chat and chat with us, then we'll end up running long. The AI doesn't have to stay here. They always have other things that they can go do, but I will be here for the chat if so desired. Well, we're going to end the show with this neat one, and it's in the Word in Tech. Self-driving stroller aims to lessen parents' stress at the cost of $3,300. I don't understand how much stress parents get from driving their stroller, but I can tell you that a $3,300 self-driving stroller probably increases stress. Self-driving technology.
Can't you just picture the baby rolling away?
Just give them the wheel. Baby, take the wheel. And it's Grand Theft Autoing the playground and stuff. You go back to hand tracking.
Oh,
Oh my.
yes.
You see that little finger from the baby come up? See ya, parents. Bye. And it's not the pointy finger that I'm talking about. Anyway, so self-driving technology has been seen in cars, delivery robots, and now a $3,300 hands-free motorized stroller that can cruise along with the parent using AI to detect obstacles and the danger on the pavement. The Ella Smart Stroller by Canadian startup. Is that Gluckskind? Gluckskind? Gluckskind. I'll just say Gluckskind. It aims to be the driver assist of parenting to bring the buggy into the 21st century. It's being shown off at the annual CES Tech Show in Las Vegas, along with other various gadgets. I don't know. This is over at The Guardian, by the way. Samuel Gibbs is a consumer technology editor and wrote this article for The Guardian. It looks like your everyday buggy, but the back two wheels looks like it has an electronics package back there with some motors. Do you think, I don't know, the AI would probably, you know AI, so don't you think that the AI, it says detect obstacles and danger on the pavement. What about the danger of a self-driving? It just stops. It locks up because the AI can't reconcile a self-driving baby buggy.
Well, right. And then what happens if it stops suddenly? I
Yeah.
mean, does it catapult the kid?
Exactly. I'm flying. There's actually a video. I don't play the videos here mainly because I've actually been dinged once on YouTube by Netflix. Netflix, if you are watching, I can do hand tracking again for the third time this episode. Yeah. Anyway, I censor myself, folks. Electronic motors also aid when manually pushing the 13.6 kilogram stroller, similar to an e-bike, assisting with inclines and automatically braking when going downhill with speed capped at a maximum of just over 4 miles per hour.
Again, visions of runaway strollers.
Man. Maybe Elon Musk is advising. There's like a plaid mode that you can override. 0 to 60 in 2 seconds, 1.7 seconds. The
Watch
stroller
out
has
for those rocket thrusters.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. Baby X. Stroller X. The stroller has space for up to 6 shopping bags too. You don't have any money left. You spent $3,300 on a stroller that walks itself. Yet you still have to hoof this beast of a stroller upstairs. Yeah, this thing gets parked in the garage next to your Ferrari. The stroller was inspired by the new parent experiences of the startup's co-founders Ann Hunger and David Huang. Or is it? I don't know how to pronounce that last name. I think it's Wang.
I don't know, but it's Kevin.
It's Kevin. Who founded Gluckskind in 2020. This is a problem. This is a solution for a problem that doesn't really exist. And the graduates of Massachusetts Institute of Technology's Sandbox Innovation Program. Well, there you go. I think it should have stayed in the sandbox. The stroller was named a CES Innovation Award honoree and is available for limited pre-order in North America with a Kickstarter crowdfunding campaign due to open in the spring. I'll be there. Yeah. Quote, we've put a lot of hard work into this product and are excited to get into more customers' hands in 2023, said Hunger, the chief product officer of Gluckskind. who expects deliveries to start in the US and Canada in April before expanding to Europe in 2024. The last, pardon me, one second. The last glider kind of a thing would set itself on fire periodically and just like sprint out of control. Let's hope that this thing doesn't transform into Terminator. I mean, it has an AI. I interact with an AI often.
I don't think it's even going to make it to market. And why are you looking like that at I?
Yeah, I think that this is going to flame out. But I've been around the startup community, back in the day. Now I'm not so much, but I can tell you that there are a lot of products that people put a lot of hard work into, and it just kind of flames out, or it misses its mark. There was one that I interacted with way back where it was related to coupons. Probably a vision that missed its time. It should have been electronic coupons instead of physical coupons, but it was a nightmare of a solution. They spent a lot of money and time, didn't hit the market because the market doesn't want it. This is something where people are saying yes a lot, I think. Still, I dig innovation and entrepreneurship, so let's see where it turns. If it shows up out on the streets, I think it'll be amazing. So good luck to them. To Glückskind, the AI buggy. Now I'm afraid. So sorry about the coughing. I'm trying to mute myself in time, but okay. So that is the end of today's show. Again, this is January 4th, 2023, the ohmTown Daily News Show. You want to say bye?
Good evening, everyone. See you again tomorrow night.
Yes. Goodbye, citizens. Okay. See ya tomorrow. Bye-bye.